Hello everyone, this video is not sponsored, and in this one I'm going to be looking at two separate products from Mattel Brick Shop. The first one is the Cadillac Project GTP hypercar in 1/32 scale. This has 236 pieces and it cost me $20 US. The other is this 1963 Corvette Grand Sport. This one's in 1/16 scale, so double the other one. Has 918 pieces and I believe I paid $55 US for it, but you should be able to get it for 50 even. I'm going to look at the Cadillac first because more of you have asked me about this one. This does come with a Hot Wheels regular diecast car in 1/64 scale, so half the scale yet again. You can see that these aren't quite exactly the same. Typically in this series, the brick built car is based off the Hot Wheels car, which in turn is an artistic interpretation of something real or potentially something that's not real. In this case, something that is real, but you can see that they don't match with like the windscreen, for example, here with the red color and that continuous stripe or continuous band of transparency with no A-pillar. This one has a plastic chassis. I think it's a relatively simple, relatively cheap one of these. The build for this one felt pretty good, but not amazing. It felt like it was from the same design house, ultimately, as the larger cars that I've reviewed from this brand thus far. But, you know, in the smaller size, of course, you're going to have very, very different techniques. It felt like a good balance between specialized parts, such as the one that's used for the canopy, compared to just normal pieces that you're probably used to, and also parts that you might not be used to that are still very, very usable and can be reused for many things, such as like that shape of tile right there. You know, it's not exclusive to this car or anything. It can definitely be used for other things, but you know, it's probably a little bit more specialized than what you're used to. And that just felt like a decent balance to me. Of course, this has no stickers. The brand does not use stickers other than for optional additional decorations that you can add on beyond the main, the main build. And we'll look at some of that a little bit later. The opacity of the white here is very good, but there is just a little bit. You can see that the edge has just a little bit of spattering around the edge of it. It's not absolutely perfect. And then the Cadillac logo there in the center is just a little bit blurry. Those are tampo prints and, just not the absolute best quality there, but at least the opacity of the white is good for most of them. I think, pretty good for most of them. Better than what I'm used to from the big brand. The shark fin does have a translucent main base color to it, and then it's got the red printed across the top. So that's a nice little touch there. I like the transparent tails there, or the tail extensions. And overall, once it's put together, it's plenty durable. Like I can pick it up, I can mess around with it. That's a die-cast piece that you can also use as a keychain. They use pretty frequently. You can see these half-height inverted tiles used on the base to hold some of the things together. It does have a somewhat specialized core chassis piece. That was interesting to see. The tires are huge. Sorry, some dog hairs in there, but the tires are absolutely immense. It's just so wide. So they had special fenders that they made up, and wheel and tire holders for this race-based car that has just, the widest tires I've ever seen for the size on a brick-built thing. You can open up the canopy. You can open up the doors, and those are pretty nice. There, can I do it? Yes, I can do it with just one hand. They open the correct way. With the entire canopy removed, as you can see, it's only attached by two studs, which makes it easy enough. You can offset your steering wheel to one side a little bit to better simulate the way that these cars are intended to be two-person cars. It's supposed to have two seats, even though they only use one person, and the other seat isn't really usable. But you can see there is a somewhat specialized part for the seat bolster back there, and then the base takes you all the way down to the floor. I believe that this will handle one of the older Mega Constructs or Mega Blocks Hot Wheels drivers, but more people have this style of figure to try to use as a driver. And when it comes to actually putting that in there, let me go ahead and give it a little bit of proper space, bring the steering wheel down around it. And you can already see that the height is just a little bit much there. So this one, yes, he doesn't quite go down all the way. If I remove the hair for it, I don't think it's going to be good enough to just give it a helmet. If I remove the hair, that gives me a little bit more room there. And I accidentally just popped that piece off, but that's my bad for being a little bit off off center there. You see, it technically can work. It's a little bit awkward to have somebody not having anything on for head protection, but it does technically work. It's not the best though. I would really want to see a helmet there instead. The Mattel Brick Shop cars, at least so far, have always given you at least one additional option for how you can configure the vehicle. This one just gives you the alternate display wheels, kind of street style of wheels, and then this sticker sheet. So these are all clear backed, and you can pick and choose which ones that you potentially want to put on there, including putting on number plates if you want to make it look a little bit more race ready. A lot of the prints here are white, so it's a little bit difficult to see the white on white. But these say Cadillac over here. You got some K&N sponsorship, more Cadillac logos down here. Pretty straightforward stuff, but not any real transformation. Here's what it looks like with the other wheel style or wheel covers on. I personally think these look pretty tacky, but it's again more of a concept and display thing. Also kind of looks more like a Hot Wheels toy like this, even though the original wheels that were first on there better match this particular diecast. The Corvette also comes with a die cast, and from what I heard from a viewer while I was building this live on Twitch as well as on this channel, this is not your mainline level of Hot Wheels car. It's a little bit elevated above that, although it does still have a plastic chassis and does not have any opening doors or anything, but it does have some decorations on the sides as well as the stripe going down the middle. Yeah, I think it's cool, but I personally don't know that much about these and their collectability and value and all. It's just a toy car to me. Again, this is 1/16 scale, and for a size comparison, here once again is a car from the big Danish brand. And this is just the most recent one. Keep in mind that this one costs more than 3 times as much. This is a $160 car over here compared to a $50 car over here. And the thing that's most striking to me, this one is a much larger scale and slightly larger overall size. There's definitely more stuff here, but I was a little bit surprised that the sizes are so close because this represents a smaller car. The thing that was most striking to me here was looking at the side pipes, because I thought that the side pipes on this were lacking. I think that they're a distinguishing feature of the car that's represented here, but especially those tips didn't look good. But then down here, the Mattel one is done much, much nicer. However, before I turn your attention to more good stuff, I need you to see some of the bad stuff about this that was unexpected in an unfortunate and undesirable way. First of all, some of the parts are just a little bit dirty. So I noticed some scuffs, like you might be able to see some of it right here, just a little bit of darkness there around the side here. That's just machining stuff. Like it's just stuff from the process, from the machines not being completely clean. And it's noticeable here. It actually washes off, but I didn't want to wash that off. I didn't want to hide that from you. I wanted you to see that. It's definitely something that we don't like to see, especially for a collector model. Fortunately, again, it does wash off, but yeah, I didn't want to call that out. Also, there's a little bit of variation in white. So like these center 2x4 tiles right here are a little bit darker than this piece is right here. And then on top of that, one of the prints, just one, this one right here, is too dark, which is really weird. This is from one car. Obviously, it's from a different batch, but it's weird. Like this is plastic. This is a print. Those are close enough. I think those are within range, within tolerance. But this one's definitely too dark. And then, interestingly, this is a plastic piece as well. So the color between those two blues should absolutely be exactly the same, or well within range. And the match here is not even as good as, in my opinion, between here and here. I think this is just a little bit worse. You can also see that just a little bit right here, darker, lighter, and back here it's a little bit more subtle, slightly darker, slightly lighter. But that one you might not notice if it's not actually called out. But I did want to call out these issues with quality that I experienced with this one that I did not experience with the others, at least certainly not to this degree. You can see that it's got the working steering, and that is connected up to the steering inside. So you turn that, and it's got a pretty nice steering angle to it. I guess while I have this open, I can show you that you've got the printed console right there, a little gear shift, and a little bit of padding. I like seeing that piece again. You see some of the parts also have some light scuffing on them. It's much more noticeable, I think, with the darker pieces. These pieces down here, down the center and across the dash, as well as back here, have a little bit of glitter in them. I forgot to look up whether there's this particular specific car in real life had an interior finish that would make sense for that slight bit of glitter that's built in there. I think that the designers simply chose that because that was a color that they had in production that gave them a shade of gray that they were happy with. That was slightly different from their other dark gray. I like the seats. You can see the pattern that's in them is actually pretty nice with the grill, the fine grill texture there. They got the 2x2s and the 1x1s that are lined up, 1x2s in the back there. Got the side view mirrors. Let me go ahead and put this back on. Obviously, the front and rear windscreens are done with specialized parts. A lot of people have problems with that, but it's just a thing. You can clearly see it from a mile away. If it bothers you, just don't buy the product. Don't even think about it. But those are absolutely critical to make something that looks this good, that looks this close to the original. They tend to use the minimum number of truly specialized parts from what I've seen so far, but windscreen, pretty important. Back window in this case, extremely important as well. And that is printed up to get you the black as well as the white. So this is actually an insert. You got the black printed onto the window and then the white frame around it. I don't like the shape of the frame piece. The fact that there's such a thick block makes the C-pillars look unbelievably deep like that. I do like the cutout bumper. That's really nice. The parts that are used for that, and especially building the lights, the tails, and are these reversing or is that just blocked? I think those might just be blocked. Maybe one of those is supposed to be reversing, but definitely the parts that are used back down in there, really, really nice. This is a print right here. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, this piece for the fenders is really nice because it can be placed at different angles. The way that the anti-studs are inside of there, you can offset it like this, which is appropriate for this car, or you can center it back. You can even have it biased towards the front. The filler is nice. I like that kind of half ring piece that they use there. It's a piece that they've had in their inventory for a very long time. The door handles, the way that that's inset a little bit. Obviously, the doors themselves are able to open as well. You got the little handle there, little bolster on the side. Again, the windscreen pieces just a little bit thick here. Once you open up the door, seeing all that, it's not necessarily what you want to see. The interior is pretty clean and clear, though. However, I think that this might look better if you look up in the headboard area. This is using inverted half-height tiles to provide strength and to hold everything together there with this center section of plates and tiles, including these tiles here that are rounded around the side. But I think if they went with a full height, it would have actually looked better. I think that this window looks just a little bit taller than it should. I think if they had made this squint just a little bit, it would be more accurate. So full height inverted tiles, I think would look better. Maybe they tried it and it didn't look better, but that's just my personal thought. Here you can see a similar technique to the tails used for the turn signals. Really good amber color there, which is made by layering the transparent orangish yellow piece over the top of another opaque part inside. You've also got the doubled up half ring pieces here, and then these very, very nice headlight covers. Nothing inside of there or back behind them, but I think they look very good. That grille looks good. Splitter down here, air dam looks good. This is an interesting piece or interesting pair of pieces that I had not seen before. Actually, is it not? Yeah, it is. It's three different pieces because this corner is different from this corner. They are mirrored, not simply flipped. So all of this here, all the shaping is nice. It's just such a shame about the mismatched colors. And then inside, I mean, the way this opens up is nice. Very, very little gap at the front. And you can see it just, the arc of it just follows over the top. And then there's also this to hold it up. Oops, my bad, didn't do it well enough. Got to do that better. And an engine in there. Nice engine block built up. Even have a belt on the front with a rubber band. I liked the pieces, my bad on that. So it's because I'm angling it to the side. I like the pieces that were used to give you two different angles for the side of the V. So you got one for the heads of the valve covers there, and then another right here for the intakes. Those are just at two separate angles, and they look nice. And on one side, you also have the prints there, which is prints across 2 separate pieces. And you see just a little bit of the steering mechanism, which didn't use too many colorful pieces. The yellow parts are noticeable. I didn't look in the real cars to see if there are any yellow parts that could kind of represent, but if those were a more neutral color, I think it would have looked a little bit better, but they did go with grays and whites for most of the other things. You do have that single yellow piece right there. So again, sorry for not checking the source material on that. That's very small little detail in advance, but everything works pretty well. In my opinion, a lot of it looks very good, and I like so many of the pieces. Like this piece right here, it's a special piece. This piece I think is exclusive to this car, but it might be usable with some other cars from the heyday of muscle cars and mid-century stuff. But then it also matches this, but that corner especially is really nice. Again, I like how the side mirrors are done and how the side pipes are done. You can also see some interesting pieces used here for these side features there. I forget if those are actual working vents or if they're just for the sake of the looks. And they even have licensed tires. The tire pattern is actually licensed. They could have just slightly changed it, but Hot Wheels folks are gearheads, and they appreciate gearheads, and they make stuff for gearheads of all ages. And they've done it again here. These are kind of semi-pneumatic, and just a beautiful pattern on there, actual licensed pattern as well. Once again, you get one of these, which is a die-cast piece. They can also be used as a keychain, and you can see that the base is probably similar stuff that you might recognize overall, starting with a basic frame of Technic bricks, and then using some more regular Technic style of pieces towards the front. I just don't know what these are for. I don't know why those were inserted in there. Piece that I personally had. No, actually, I've seen that piece before. It's just been a while, but I don't know what those are added for right at the end. I think that's just about it for this one. No opening trunk on this one, which to me is perfectly fine. Overall, really nice shaping, nice build experience. Shame about the dirty bricks, which again, I can clean easily, but more importantly, the color mismatches here. This set also gives you an alternate wheel style design, and these are also licensed from American Racing. It's a real classic design, which they could have, again, changed it just a little bit. Unfortunately, there's a tint on here that's not completely consistent, so in some areas, it just didn't get all the blue. There's just a little bit of bluish tint on these, which looks nice, but there's a little bit of lack of consistency there, unfortunately. And then you also get this whole additional set of parts for doing more of a racing style of conversions. Let's take a look at that. Ooh, the conversion is nice. I like this a lot better than I thought I would. It's very tasteful. It's obviously more aggressive, especially with the aero. You got the spoiler back here that's been added on. Apologies if I didn't get that completely straight, but then up front you also have this larger splitter, and I did realize when taking the original one off that I had placed the lower part of the air dam incorrectly on the first one. It's barely noticeable, but for folks who did notice that, I do apologize. I hope that didn't distract too much from the rest of the entire video for you, but it's not enough to redo the entire video. It's a very, 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 very small difference, but this looks nice to me. The wheels, I don't know if I like these wheels better than the stock ones, or the first set. The first set, by the way, are plastic. These are die cast here, so these are the only metal ones. The only metal pieces in the set are these, plus the plaque on the bottom and the die cast car itself. But this is nice. Yeah, I like the aero differences on this one. And also, subtly, this one has a wide body conversion in the rear. So these are actually wider fenders here, a wider set of fender pieces. And the wheels themselves are offset with greater track width back here by a small amount, but a noticeable amount. And the way that they did that is really, really clever. They actually have little suspension blocks that you pull out and you replace them with completely separate alternatives. Makes it actually rather quick and easy once you put each set together to swap back and forth between the two. This is really nice. And then you also, again, have the whole sticker sheet. All this stuff is optional. Love seeing the Edelbrock on there. But, just, again, optional stuff. They are stickers, and I know a lot of people don't like stickers, but here, again, thankfully, they are just an option, not something that you need to do. And I think they're decently tasteful as well, but mostly it's the shaping with the difference of aero and the wider stance. Let me actually switch back it's interesting that these wheels here are not showing the blue in them, but I want to switch my wheels back. Yeah, these aren't showing the blue either. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's my setup right there. I think that's how it needs to be. There's actually another design of American racing wheel that I like a little bit better. It has slightly rounder spokes on it. I don't know if that particular one was made to fit onto the Corvette, but hey, I like this look, so I'm keeping it that way for myself. To summarize, the 1/32 scale, I think is fine to good, especially when I consider the price of it at $20 US for this size. I mean, I really don't see anybody competing particularly well at that size and that price point. It's difficult to keep margins up once things get down to this size with the number of pieces, as well as the additional development that's required and all the part management, in this case for the exclusive prints and some of the exclusive pieces as well. It would be extraordinarily difficult to get cheaper than this, less expensive than this for this size, while maintaining even this level of quality. Quality here is not perfect. Again, with the print there not being perfect, the print there not being perfect, but at least the opacity of the white is pretty good and the build is pretty good. And it comes with the Hot Wheels car, diecast car, which is not a high-end one, but again, all this just feels fine to good for me. And I do hope that they will be able to make more at this scale. I hope that it's profitable enough for them because, we need more competition, readily available competition at that scale. At this scale over here, this one is also fine to good for me, especially when I consider the price. This being $50 US, comparing it to the big dominant brand with a similar size car costing more than 3 times as much. However, there are compromises here with the quality. Now, the little bit of grime on the pieces that I mentioned, I already wiped that off. Just take an alcohol wipe, done. Problem solved. The difference of color right here with the print, I don't like that. Difference of color with the parts, less excusable than the print. Is it excusable when you consider the price of this? Again, pay less than a third as much, get this with no stickers, well, other than the optional ones, and some metal pieces, although these do have some inconsistencies. Like this one's fine, but one of them, this one has a little bit of missing tint there. So again, quality, not 100%. Is it worth it? I'm going to go ahead and say, personally, all right, I'm going to forget that I'm a reviewer here. I'm going to forget about other brands. I'm going to forget about everything and just say, I like this car. I really do. I enjoyed building it. I hope to one day have space to be able to display it because in this form here, it looks good. So me as a car fan and a fan of models and brick-built things, $50, I'm happy with this. I wish that the quality with the color match was better, but it doesn't bother me enough to say, this is trash. Just throw it away. Not worth it. I'd rather pay 3 times as much and get something that also has print issues like alignment and also has different colors of white. But much better would be to get all of this perfect. Whites matching, blues matching. That's where things should be. I'd be willing to pay $70 for this. $75. I'd be willing to pay $75. Which, if the quality was perfect here, if I didn't see, if the parts came clean and the blues were matched and the whites were matched, I'd be willing to pay up to $75 for this because this feels underpriced. The only thing that's lacking in terms of features is the quality control on it. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't care about the little small diecast cars. Personally, that's just me, but it is nice to have a little mini-me version of your car. These convenient and everything, but for collectors, probably means something entirely different. Overall, I think that Mattel Brick Shop is doing a very good thing here, and I want them to not rest on their newly grown laurels here. I want them to push themselves to be just a little bit better in terms of quality, but they don't need to be better in terms of value. This, as usual, I'm just going to be honest with this stuff. I think that this car could cost a little bit more, and I'd be fine with it. Maybe not all the way up to 75, but if they bumped it to 60 and corrected the quality problems, I'd be perfectly fine with that. If they bumped it to 70, it would still cost, less than half as much as the competition, and still have no required stickers, and still come with the extra wheels, and much better design, and something that ends up looking so much better, so much more like the real thing than a design that is cheaper to make but costs us so much more, because it's cheaper to make something that has all pieces that are already in production. It takes a ridiculous amount of additional cost to make specialized parts here. It is not a cop-out. It is not lazy. It costs a ridiculous amount of additional money for a company to make these specialized parts. And a lot of people just don't understand those basic realities. Overall, I'm happy with this, except for quality issues, and I hope that they will get better on that. Thank you for watching. I hope that this video was of value to you in general, and I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching, and thank you to the channel members, to the Twitch subscribers, and Patreon members for helping me to continue to do more of these reviews and such. Bye for now.